State of Ohio versus Isaiah Buchanan. Mr. Buchanan is before the court with his counsel, Mr. Aldridge, Mr. Hardman, Mr. Rye. On behalf of the State of Ohio, we're here for sentencing. So everyone had an opportunity to review the pre-sentence investigation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hardman, anything on behalf of the state?
Your Honor, on behalf of the State of Ohio, the court is well aware of the contacts the defendant has had with the court system, mostly through juvenile court, obviously because of his age. It's the position of the State of Ohio at this point that there's not much left to do. There's been attempts repeatedly to curb his behavior. They've been unsuccessful. We would ask that the defendant be incarcerated. We have spoken to the victim of this case, Mr. Krasik, and he has no position with regard to ultimately he feels like the court and relying upon the court and the state to have his best interest at heart as far as what happens here. There is restitution for medical bills, $11,277.75.
Anything from probation?
Nothing further than what was discussed in chambers.
Mr. Aldridge?
Several things, Your Honor. First off, the defendant's mother is present. She would like to address the court.
Okay, come on up.
You don't have to speak into the microphone. It's recording you. That should get out of the way. If you just state your name for the court reporter.
Jennifer Buchanan.
What would you like me to know?
I'm sorry. I know my son, I make no excuses for, I don't condone any of his behavior throughout juvenile court and now in your court today. However, I would like you to take into consideration that since this incident happened, he has been compliant with anything that they have asked him to do. He has taken initiative to work with his physician in getting on a good medication regimen to help with his multiple mental health diagnoses. I know when he comes in front of, the investigators, that it is very hard for him to articulate how he feels. He has a very flat affect, which makes him seem, I don't know how to explain it correctly to make you understand, but he had, during his confinement at home, we have had multiple discussions regarding his behavior, his future, the things that he's done, the chances that he's had, etc. He doesn't want to spend his life in jail. He doesn't want to. He wants to have a normal life. He wants to go to school, get an education, start a career, and that kind of thing. He's made it. He's going to, depending on what happens here today, he's going to Warren County Career Center here in a couple of weeks to talk with several instructors there to determine if there's a program at the Career Center that he could take. He even talked to an Army recruiter to possibly, if depending on, again, the outcome of today, on possible military service at some point, to try to get his life in order. Has never set out to hurt anybody. He knows that what he did is wrong, but he's made changes to abide by the GPS monitoring, the probation, even prior to being charged. He followed the guidelines that he was supposed to follow. So I would just like you to take all of that into consideration when you make your decision on whether to, however you decide to, the punitive aspect of this.
Thank you. Anything else?
We have submitted a couple of letters to the court, including an apology letter to the victim, knowing exactly what his mental health issues are. I think he does have some significant mental health issues that have affected not only this incident, but obviously his prior record over in juvenile court. And obviously we're not looking to downplay that at all. He has not been very cooperative with the court system in the past. And he does come across, in my experience with him, much younger than his age, not as mature as you would expect. And I think that is attributable to his ongoing mental health issues. I think it's a positive that he has removed himself away from Franklin and the kids that he was running with over there. He's 18 years old. Sorry, Your Honor.
It's all right. Go ahead.
He's 18 years old, and obviously this is his first time here over in Common Pleas Court. I do think that he can benefit from the opportunities and things that this court can provide. I do request that the court consider placing him on probation.
Did he test today?
I didn't get an email, but.
I didn't either.
I believe he did test positive for marijuana this morning, or that's what they told him at least. Again, I don't know what the level was, but.
Well, they wouldn't know the level until.
The sentencing hearing in State of Ohio versus Isaiah Buchanan centered on whether the court should give a young defendant one more opportunity on community control or conclude that repeated violence, court defiance, and failed interventions had reached the point where prison was necessary. Buchanan appeared with counsel for sentencing, and the judge first confirmed that everyone had reviewed the pre-sentence investigation. The prosecutor then addressed the court and made the state's position clear from the outset. He said the court was already well aware of Buchanan's extensive contacts with the justice system, most of them through juvenile court because of his age, and argued that there was very little left for the system to try. According to the prosecutor, there had been repeated attempts over the years to curb Buchanan's behavior, but those efforts had not worked. Because of that history, the state believed incarceration was appropriate. The prosecutor also informed the court that he had spoken to the victim, Joshua Craig, who did not take a firm position on the sentence but was relying on the court and the state to protect his interests. The prosecutor noted that restitution in the amount of $11,277.75 was owed for the victim's medical bills. Probation had nothing to add beyond prior discussions in chambers. So the hearing shifted to the defense. Defense counsel began by asking that Buchanan's mother be permitted to address the court, and the judge agreed. Jennifer Buchanan came forward and, while emotional, made a measured statement on behalf of her son. She immediately told the court that she was not there to excuse his behavior and did not condone what he had done, whether in juvenile court or in the present adult case. Still, she wanted the judge to know that since the incident, Buchanan had been compliant with what had been asked of him. She said he had taken the initiative to work with his physician to find a medication regimen that could help with his multiple mental health diagnoses. She explained that her son often presents with a very flat affect, which can make it difficult for investigators, probation officers, or the court to understand what he is actually feeling, and she seemed concerned that his emotional presentation could be mistaken for indifference. During his period of home confinement, she said, they had multiple conversations about his behavior, his future, the mistakes he had made, and the many chances he had already been given. According to her, Buchanan did not want to spend his life in jail and wanted a normal future that included education, a career, and some structure. She told the court he had plans to visit the Warren County Career Center in the coming weeks, to meet with instructors and determine whether there was a program he could enter. And he had even contacted an Army recruiter to explore possible military service if the outcome of the case allowed him to do so. In her view, he had never set out to hurt anybody, understood that what he did was wrong, and had been making changes by complying with GPS monitoring and other conditions even before he was formally charged. She closed by asking the judge to take those efforts into account when deciding how punitive the sentence needed to be. After Buchanan's mother spoke, defense counsel supplemented her remarks. He noted that they had submitted several letters to the court, including an apology letter to the victim. Counsel said the exact contours of Buchanan's mental health issues were still not entirely clear, but he believed there were significant mental health problems that had influenced not only the present incident, but also Buchanan's lengthy juvenile record. He was careful not to minimize that record, admitting that Buchanan had not been very cooperative with the court system in the past. At the same time, counsel described Buchanan as someone who came across much younger than his actual age and far less mature than one would expect, something he attributed to ongoing mental health struggles. He argued that it was a positive sign that Buchanan had removed himself from Franklin and from the peer group he had been running with there. Counsel emphasized that Buchanan was only 18 years old and that this was his first appearance in adult common pleas court. He urged the judge to consider that distinction and argued that Buchanan could still benefit from the opportunities and structure that the adult court system could provide. On that basis, counsel asked the court to place him on probation rather than send him to prison. The judge then asked whether Buchanan had tested for drugs that day. There had been no official email yet, but counsel stated that he believed Buchanan had tested positive for marijuana that morning, although the level was unknown because confirmation testing had not yet come back. After that, the judge turned to Buchanan himself and invited him to speak before sentence was imposed. Buchanan's statement to the court was short and focused on remorse, treatment, and another request for a chance. He said he was very remorseful for everything that had happened and explained that he had recently gotten on new medication to help stabilize himself. When the judge asked what the medication was for, Buchanan answered that it was for anger, ADHD, and general stabilization. The judge immediately pushed back, saying people do not take medicine simply for anger and asking what diagnosis the medication had actually been prescribed for. Buchanan admitted he was not sure of the exact diagnosis, at which point his mother interjected to explain that he had been on and off various medications for years, but often suffered bad side effects, and doctors had discussed trying different options if the current medications did not work. The judge noted that none of that information was included in the assessment before the court. Buchanan's mother responded that they had explained these issues to the assessor and that juvenile court had supposedly been given his medical records. But the judge cut in to say juvenile court had provided nothing to the adult court despite requests, not even Buchanan's infractions from juvenile detention. The mother then said she had not separately provided the records because she believed they were already being requested. The judge moved on and asked Buchanan what else he wanted the court to know. Buchanan said he wanted to continue his education, had completed high school, was looking into the career center and other schools, and, as his mother mentioned, had reached out to an Army recruiter. He insisted that whatever program or conditions the court imposed, he would work them and do everything the court asked. He apologized again and explicitly asked for another chance. The judge's response showed that she was deeply skeptical that another chance in the community would accomplish anything. She immediately asked Buchanan how many chances the system had to give him before he killed somebody. Looking at his record, she began walking through his history in detail, highlighting how early the violence started and how often the system had already intervened. She pointed out that Buchanan's first conviction for assault dated back to 2018, when he would have been around 12 years old. When she asked who he assaulted at that age, Buchanan said it had been a mutual fight at school. She then moved to a 2019 assault, which again involved a school fight. Next came a 2021 violation of a court order and a 2021 failure to comply with the order of a police officer, a felony of the third degree that the judge emphasized would be a prison offense in adult court. She continued through multiple additional violations of court orders in 2021 and 2022, then a 2023 aggravated menacing charge, and in 2024 criminal mischief and criminal damaging charges. She summed up the record by telling Buchanan that he already had 3 prior offenses of violence and that the present case made 4. Buchanan responded that he understood and that he wanted to better himself and did not want to live the way he had in the past, repeating that he would do any program the court ordered. The judge, however, was unmoved by general promises. She told him that most people are sorry when they are standing in court at sentencing, and that what mattered was the long pattern of conduct, not a last-minute apology. The court then moved into a more formal explanation of sentence, but the judge's reasoning continued to reveal why she believed prison was necessary. She stated that she had considered the statements made in court, the PSI, the letters submitted on Buchanan's behalf, and the statutory purposes and principles of sentencing, along with the seriousness and recidivism factors. She told Buchanan she had serious concerns about him and that although she understood the explanation about his flat affect, she believed the problem went much deeper than simply how he presented himself emotionally In the judge's view, violence could not be blamed on vaguely described mental health conditions because those diagnoses did not excuse seriously hurting another person. When Buchanan tried to interject, the judge stopped him and made clear that if he had anything else he wanted her to know, he needed to say it before she finished because once she got started, she did not want to be interrupted. Buchanan apologized again and said nothing further. The judge then reflected on the limitations of juvenile court, saying she understood that juvenile court has restricted tools and options, but that Buchanan was no longer in juvenile court and now faced adult consequences. She emphasized a basic principle: every bad choice in life comes with bad consequences. She also said she did not believe Buchanan had taken the matter as seriously as he wanted the court to believe. One thing that bothered her was the positive marijuana test.